Hello, everybody. My name is Bill Hoy. I am an independent researcher. I have videos on BitChute and Minds under bhoy333. That's BHOEY 333. I also have videos on YouTube under the title What in the World is Going On 1, as What in the World is Going On question mark and the number 1. And I am going to be presenting a presentation on natural law. I made it up in a PowerPoint, but I'm still learning all these new technologies that I've upgraded to with my new computer and relearning a lot about the Microsoft software and how to get the word out as effective as I can. But this natural law presentation is a culmination of years of research, and I'm trying to just take my time here and not rush through this. Most of my videos have been around 20 minutes. Trying to just keep it short because, let's be honest, most people don't like watching long, drawn-out videos. My most recent videos, once I upgraded my technology, have had a lot of information coming at people in a short period of time. So I'm going to try to draw this one out and be more specific. So, once again, my name's Bill Hoy. Talked about where I'm at on some of the platforms that I have on different sites. And I guess I'm going to go right into this. And we will start with the first slide. That is natural law. The key to unlocking freedom and the preservation of Earth's life support systems. And this is natural law encompasses everything, folks. And we're going to get into that in this presentation because natural law encompasses everything. It's not just about fighting for freedom, like the typical, all the dialectics you get out there. Oh, these people fight for freedom. These people fight for our environment. Folks, when people come together and learn that it's all the same, that it's all natural law, that's when we're going to really start making some headway. That's when we're really going to start making some headway. So I'm going to get into this stuff. I really want to try to take my time and remember to cover all this. So I am going to move into the next slide now. And I'm hoping here to be able to get this content all on single slides, but I'm probably not going to be able to with the format that I have or that I at least know about. So I'm moving the slides on my PowerPoint and I'm going to read from them, but sometimes you might see multiple slides on the video. So It's a work in progress, folks. Work in progress. So here we are. This is a quote here. I'll start with a nice quote because this quote really says a lot. The very idea of law originates in men's natural rights. There is no other standard than natural rights by which civil law can be measured. Law has always been the name of that rule or principle of justice which protects those rights. Thus we speak of natural law. That is Lysander Spooner. And that quote's from the book The Unconstitutionality of Slavery. A good book where Spooner breaks down the inconsistencies between human-made laws and natural laws, and he also breaks down how slavery specifically is, first thing he states how it's immoral, but then he breaks down slavery inside the box as well within the U.S. Constitution, and I think he talks a little bit about English common law as well, but mostly, the U.S. Constitution, and breaks down how even inside the box of human-made laws, slavery is not a moral practice, to say the least. But so I suggest all read that book because that's the book where I first started learning about natural law and fell in love with it, man. And natural law is the real law of attraction, folks. That's what natural law is. That's the real law of attraction. So the very idea of law originates in men's natural rights. And that's, folks, there's no, I don't know if there's a better way to say it. Because human-made laws are not the fundamental basis of rights. Natural rights are the fundamental basis. And Spooner goes on to say, there is no other standard than natural rights by which civil law can be measured. And there you go. That's just it. This just gets concrete right down to it. All right, I just had to pause for a second. So like I was talking about, natural law is the barometer. That's the measure of behavior. And I'll repeat it again, folks. I'm going to be repeating a lot of things. And really, I don't know how to best say this, but I think I should just maybe do a whole 20-minute video where I just repeat this clause. There is no other standard than natural rights by which civil law can be measured. Maybe I should just say that 20 million times because people just don't seem to get it. So many people are connected to human-made laws. So this gets into how something under human law can be legal or illegal, but that does not mean that it's either moral or immoral. Like, for example, under human law, taxation by what is called government is legal, but it's not moral. Taxation is robbery, folks. It's slavery. It's the claim of ownership on someone's energy and time spent and resources earned. It's a claim of ownership on someone's financial resources that they've earned, backed by the threat of violence ultimately. Because you see, folks, that's what the belief in government is. That's what human-made laws truly are. See, as Spooner says, law has always been the name of that rule or principle of justice which protects those rights. Thus we speak of natural law. True natural laws are backed by universal objective laws of morality, whereas human-made laws, when you strip it all the way down, push out the duress, and let's say you're not paying your extortion fees, taxes, you'll get a letter in the mail. They're not just going to come right to your door and blow you away. You're going to get a letter in the mail. You owe taxes, and we're going to do this to you, and we're going to do that to you, and eventually, when it comes all the way down to it, it's comply or die. And that's what human-made laws are. Human-made laws are not backed by any true universal laws. They're backed by violence. They're backed by violence. And natural law, the natural laws of our universe are not backed by violence. They're backed by mathematics and truth, and they're universal. They're backed by the creator of our world, of our universe. And natural law is supposed to be protected through our behaviors by us when transgressions against our natural rights come. And then we, in the physical 3D realm, protect our natural rights and hold others accountable for their violations of natural law. Whereas human-made laws are mostly, natural law is the laws of nature. If we're living in truth with the universe, I don't want to say followed, they're discovered and known, and we align our behaviors with them in our lives, where human-made laws are mostly followed because we know ultimately it's the threat of violence. And law has always been the name of that principle or justice. And this is what human-made laws are, folks. Once again, going into taxation. Taxation by the mythical entity called government, which is just people. It's just people enacting out a superstition. And basically, the populace is just under a spell. Thinks that certain people have the right to rule over others. So what I'm trying to get to is there's no other standard by natural right than natural rights by which civil law can be measured. So taxation is legal, but it's not moral. Taxation is immoral, folks. And you got so many people out there with that Stockholm syndrome that just say, well, if without taxes, we wouldn't be able to have a society and stuff like that. Or, who will build the roads, all that nonsense. Folks, taxation is robbery. It is legal under human law, but it's immoral. It's a violation of natural law. And also, within these human-made laws versus natural law, you will have something that's illegal, like ingesting certain drugs into your body. Let's say, oh, the big bad one, heroin. Ingesting heroin into your body and having heroin in some form of amount in your possession on your person, which is another natural right. Ingesting something into your body is a natural right. Having some substance in your possession on your person, that's a natural right. Distributing that to a willing person is a natural right. But yet, this stuff is deemed illegal under human laws, but it is a moral act. They're moral actions. So something can be illegal and immoral. No, something can be legal and immoral and illegal and moral. And that's human-made laws, folks. Now, let me tell you something about these drug laws. These drug laws are a claim of ownership on our bodies. And civil law does not measure up to natural rights on that one. And in this presentation, I'm going to get into how human laws don't even need to be written down. There's no need for them. There's no need for a ruling class. We don't need a ruling class, folks. Natural law is here. Natural law is here. And I'm going to also go over how there's going to be consequences whether we follow these laws or not. Natural law is in effect. It will always be in effect. And we either discover what it is, align our behaviors with it, or we don't, and we face the consequences. And I'm going to talk a lot about that. This is a big one, folks. So I think I've covered this effectively. I think I have. So let's move on. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll get into the perversion. I'm going to talk about the perversion of natural law and how it's trying to be flipped by people. So let's get into the core definition of natural law. So we're going to go to the next slide. And this is my definition, folks, based on my couple years of work on this. What is natural law? It is a set of inherent, universal, immutable, unalienable birthrights that are endowed to humans by creation. A lot of this, folks, a lot of that first definition I got from the Declaration of Independence, the American Declaration of Independence, the American Declaration of Independence. I'm from America. That's turning into China. China-America. And I'm talking about how we're running our society, turning into a socialist nightmare. America is a socialist country, has been for a long time. All government is socialism, but let's just continue. A lot of that first part is from the Declaration of Independence, and some of it in the preamble, the Constitution, Bill of Rights. So I'll start it again. I'll just read the whole definition. What is natural law? It is a set of inherent, universal, immutable, unalienable birthrights that are endowed to humans by creation. These laws are a set of observable, discoverable rules that beings of higher capability, intelligence, that beings with the higher capability of intelligence are required to live by in order to ensure the freedom and to maintain the life support systems necessary to the survival of that species. And we're going to break down this definition right now, and we will switch to the next slide to start the breakdown. So let's first talk about inherent. Inherent, something that exists as permanent. Natural law is permanent, folks. It's never going away. Never going away. It was here billions of years ago, and it'll be here billions of years after. As long as the universe exists. Permanent. It's never go away. I wanted to say something else, part of the definition that's pretty good from the dictionary, but I forget what it is. But I'd say that pretty well describes inherent. Universal. Affects the freedom of all beings of higher intelligence throughout the universe and is infinite. So it's inherent, it's never going away. Always here, never going away. Universal, it covers the whole universe, and it's for beings of higher intelligence. For beings of higher intelligence. That'd be us humans. Unfortunately, we humans have been dumbed down so stupidly with television and the whole political garbage theater, and everybody thinking that being a true patriot means joining a military and going in a war or something. It has nothing to do with being a patriot. I'm a patriot for putting this information out. I never served in any war. Actually, I am serving in a war. We're at war right now, folks, just in case you haven't noticed. Just in case you haven't noticed. I mean, you look at what's going on here in the United States right now, 8/10/2020. Okay? All the mass shit and all that stuff. Take a look at the fact, I'll just give you something to look into for yourself. The United States makes up 5% of the world's population, but yet we have 25% of the world's, I guess I'll call it CD9, whatever it is, this coronavirus 19, which I think this whole coronavirus is a host of coronaviruses, but we got 25% of the world's infections. And there's a lot of things to look into that, but when you look into all these numbers, they're all being fudged. This whole thing as a pandemic is a sham. So, just to let you know, we're under attack. We're in a war. We're in a war. So, universal means everywhere. It means the whole universe it covers. And then there's immutable, cannot be changed or altered by living beings. That's what we're talking about a little bit there with Spooner's quote, and how even if you're going to make human-made laws, they must be in line, congruent with natural laws, or if, for example, with the taxation, legal but immoral, we have no obligation to follow that. You cannot. That's altering you're mutating natural law. You're mutating natural law there. And we have no obligation. There's no moral obligation for us, folks, to pay taxes. Second, the drug laws. Something illegal, but a moral action. Once again, you're mutating natural law. It's natural law is being mutated. and changed. And natural law doesn't change. It's still in effect. So when laws against moral actions are enforced, the enforcers are the immoral ones. And natural law is in effect. And I'm going to explain this, folks. I'm going to explain how that works. So these natural laws are being altered, are attempting to be altered by living beings. But once again, natural law is in effect regardless of whether we follow it or not. Cannot be changed. And any law that is not congruent with natural laws is a law that no one has any obligation to follow. No obligation to follow. That's why we're all taught by our parents and in the media and schools that obedience is a virtue. Because the controllers of the world want people to think that being blindly obedient to a perceived authority is a good thing. And it's not, folks. It's not. It's baloney. That's what it is. We need to know and understand natural and want to align our behaviors with it. And we got to be tough enough to deal with the fact that sometimes things could be rough. I'm going to get into all that. Unalienable. Okay, unalienable. Does not change no matter where you go in the entire universe. You could go from the United States to China, which both are becoming the same, but China still is a little more extreme. But natural law is in effect in the United States, and it's in effect in China. Wherever you go in the world, doesn't matter whether human-made laws are different. Natural law is in effect, and the consequences of not following it are going to be the same in the United States. They're going to be the same in China. Just look at China. China's a nightmare. Let me tell you something about China, okay? All you men in China, man, I understand China's a different culture. I understand. And I know, look at what's going on here in America with all these idiots putting on their masks. People, all these people walking around with their firearms, big tough Americans with their firearms, with their fucking masks on. Idiots. Walking around with firearms and then putting their mask on so they can go into Home Depot. Get the fuck out of here. I'm serious. I'm trying to stay as professional as I can here, folks, without getting too upset. But, just want to say something about China. Come on, China. Come on, guys. What are you waiting for us for? I understand it'll be mass murder. I understand. I saw Tiananmen Square. Okay? I understand it'll be mass murder, but I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't talk. Maybe I shouldn't talk because we Americans are just as enslaved as the Chinese. With the only exception, you got a lot of gun owners here in America. That's the exception. Got a lot of gun owners here in America, but unfortunately, most of those gun owners, like I described, are mostly state supporters. I support the Second Amendment, but this is a shirt I see commonly. I support the Second Amendment and the military. Okay. You don't know too much about the Second Amendment then. I'm not big into human-made laws, but Second Amendment is based on natural rights. But I guess I really can't talk, too much because we're becoming China, and Who knows? There's probably a guy in China saying, what the hell are you Americans doing? You got guns. You know? These are birthrights, okay? These are birthrights. When we humans are born, these rights, along with the responsibilities that coincide, are ours. That's a big one. Oh, no, nobody wants those responsibilities. Oh, hey, I can be free? Great. But oh, man, I got responsibilities? Oh, man. Okay, you know what? I'd rather be a slave. You know? All these people, we're going to rise up against Hillary Clinton and the so-called liberals. Not liberals, but we're going to rise up against them. And you mean we actually have to, defend our rights ourselves and fend for ourselves? Oh, you know what? We'll put all our apples into Donald Trump. Donald Trump will save us, folks. Donald Trump's not going to save you. Donald Trump's not going to protect your rights. Your rights are birthrights. It's up to you to protect them. And whether or not you think someone is protecting your rights, no one can protect your rights but you. No one can protect my rights but me. My rights are mine. They're birthrights. It's up to me to protect them. I mean, hey, if, let's say in my local town, 1,000 men get together and we all say, you know what, we all agree individually to defend our rights. And you know what, while we're all defending our own rights, all our rights are the same under natural law. Every human being's rights are the same under natural law. That's unfortunately a lot what they got wrong there with the Declaration of Independence. Those founding fathers of the United States, with the Declaration of Independence, where we should have stayed, we could have perfected that. We could have made that right. But unfortunately, they went with the slavery in the Constitution, and here we are now. But I really, sometimes I get off on tangents. I got to try to stay on point. But we could all get together, defend our individual rights as a group, but it's not a collective necessarily. It's a group of individuals. That's what true patriotism is. A group of individuals acting on their own conscience. That's what true patriotism is, and that's what the big component of the American Revolutionary War was. So when we humans are born, these rights, along with the responsibilities that coincide, are ours. Hey, I want to be free, but I just lost my job. So, all right, I need my unemployment. Folks, people don't want the responsibilities of being truly free. People don't want the responsibilities. Our birthrights are ours, folks. These are birthrights. Once you're born, these rights are yours automatically. Automatically. You don't need to put your hand on a book and raise your, right hand, your left hand on a book, raise your right hand, and go through some superstitious ritual to get these rights. They're there, they're yours. And nobody has more rights than others. All our rights are the same. They're under natural law. And once again, there's so many people out there that think that there's different subspecies of the human species. There's only one human species. And a lot of people just think, what they call black people have less rights than white people. And folks, you can think that all you want, and you can manifest that in your world, but once again, it's a violation of natural law, and the consequences are here. The consequences are here. We're walking around with masks on, folks, with masks on. I really don't like to go into any stores anymore, because I don't want to be harassed by people because I'm not wearing my mask. But I saw the other day at a store I went to, big, strong, muscled up men with tattoos all over them, with their masks on, having a long conversation. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Big, tough guys with their masks on. Big, healthy, young, strong men wearing their masks. What's the matter with you? And once again, like I said, all these gun owners walking around with their guns. I mean, you have a firearm on your side, and you're putting on a mask because you're worried about somebody telling you can't shop there. It's unbelievable. Oh, yeah, it's obvious. Birthrights. No, it's not obvious. It's not obvious. Now, is it? Not very obvious. And then, of course, endowed by creation. See, and I just want to go back to birthrights for 1 minute. We human beings, these rights are ours. This entity called government or the state does not have any rights. You know, you have Dershowitz. I can't remember if he actually said this, but saying along the lines, I think he did, that the state has the right for their emergency powers, police powers, which is slavery, to inject you with some vaccine or something. The state does not have any rights, folks. The state doesn't even have the right to exist. Our rights are individual birthrights. There is no collective rights. They're only individual rights. And our bodies are our property. That's a birthright. Our bodies are our property and our responsibility. Our responsibility. And if you're afraid of a virus, it's your responsibility to protect yourself, just like the Dershowitz guy said. He said he equated, and I'm probably going to talk about this, but maybe I should leave this. You know what? I hope I remember this. I'm going to leave this because I'm going to get to that more in this presentation. So I just wanted to go back to those birthrights and hammer that birthrights are the people. People have rights. An entity, a belief, a superstition does not have any rights. Government, that's what government is. It's a belief. It's a superstition. All this swearing in, stupid stuff. All fake. All people have the same rights. And all, you know, and going back to the whole, you know, what are called black people and what are called white people. Many people, you know, because of the television and stuff, when you try to point these things out, they think you're some flower power hippie or something like that. Nothing against them, but all you have to do, look, you don't want to like people with different skin colors, then don't like them. You don't have to like them. You don't have to be around them. You don't have to be their friends. You don't have to hang out with them. Nothing. All you have to do is respect their rights. That's it. All you have to do is respect their rights. And that's what they do to these people on that television. They shove all that stuff in their faces and just get them all angry. Turn the stupid television off. Turn off the television. Guess what? Turn off the television and you'll realize there's really no pandemic. Turn off the television and I guarantee you there'll be no pandemic. It'll be gone once you turn off the television. All right, let me continue. So, endowed by creation. Endowed by creation. These rights are endowed by creation, folks, not endowed by politicians, not endowed by soldiers. Thank a soldier for your rights. Baloney. I was in the death cult of the military. Let me tell you something. Okay, when I was in basic training in the Army Infantry, let me tell you something, folks. We weren't chanting natural law, freedom, freedom. During our cadence runs, we weren't chanting First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, 4. Give me more, more, more. No, that's not what we were chanting, folks. You know what we were chanting? Kill, 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 kill. One shot, one kill, 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 kill. That's what we were chanting, folks, amongst other things. Okay? Do not thank a soldier for your rights. If you do, you're uninformed. Okay? I'm trying to keep in mind that I used to be an idiot myself, okay? I was raised to be an idiot. I mean, I joined the military. I hated myself. My parents never taught me any of this stuff. None of it. None of it. So endowed by creation. These rights come from creation itself, or God, if you like. This is not religious, folks. Not religious at all. I'm not in a church. Not religious at all. This is truth. I don't need a Bible. I don't need a Constitution. I know what natural law is, and I work to align my behavior with it, and it's a journey. It's a journey. So these rights, like driver's licenses. Driver's licenses are a privilege under the belief in man's law. But the truth is, getting in your motor vehicle and driving a car around is a natural right. As long as you're not using that car to kill somebody. All this stuff about granting people rights. Government doesn't even have the right to exist because it's a superstition. And it doesn't grant people rights. Rights come from creation itself. The very fact that we're created gives us these rights. And these rights, the reason why these rights exist, folks, is so we can live in absolute harmony. And we absolutely can live in harmony. We really can. I mean, we're all very messed up. The human race is very messed up, and it's more than likely, I don't see this ever happening, but if we even tried to start living in accordance with this, it would be a rocky road. It would be a rocky road. Because people are so unbelievably immoral. People actually think that rights come from soldiers and police. That police protect your rights. No policeman can protect you, or woman. No policeman or woman can protect you. Only, I've learned even, throughout lately, as far as your own body, I'm the closest to my body. Only I can immediately protect myself. Police don't protect your rights. And it's really not anyone else's responsibility to protect my rights. It's my responsibility to protect my rights. I mean, this is the fundamentals, folks. This is the fundamentals. I call them the fundamentals. These are principles. Principles are exact. That's what this pretty much defines. All of this defines a principle. A principle is something that is concrete, can never be changed, altered, and is universal. These are principles. Human-made laws are not based on principles. And any human-made law that is based on a principle is redundant anyway. I don't know if I mentioned that. I wanted to mention that. I just want to be specific. Human law made laws against murder. Murder's naturally inherently wrong. So it's redundant. It doesn't need to be made. It doesn't need to be a legitimate human law. So endowed by creation, folks, not by politicians. Not endowed. I'll use this example. Not endowed by President Lincoln, right? People always say, "Oh, President Lincoln freed the slaves." No, President Lincoln did not free the slaves, folks. Slaves were always free. We're going to get to that later in the presentation. Let me continue. So I'm going to break down the second part of the definition. Observable. It is clear to any honest observer what happens when people place their priorities in human-created laws. When humans adhere to and enforce laws that are not congruent with natural law, the result is slavery, violence, and chaos. That's what we have now. You don't think so? You don't think that taxation, a claim of ownership on your own time, energy spent, and resources gained is slavery? You're a really broken person, man. You're a really broken person. Believe me, I was a broken person, folks. My parents taught me that government is God, and government is wonderful, and taxation is necessary. I was raised to be an unbelievable slave, man. And my own mother's still suffering greatly. I'm trying to get her to start doing some introspection, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. You don't think telling people to put a mask on their face with the threat of violence, which is, fines, folks. Fines are not docile. Now, fine is backed by the threat of violence. Everything people who are under the superstition of government do under that superstition is backed by violence. It's all backed by violence, not by truth. See, natural law is backed by truth. I'm going to keep hammering this. Natural law is backed by truth. Government is backed by violence. Even if you were to break it down and say, hey, you know what? I really don't want to pay my taxes, dude, because, taxes are robbery. And the natural laws of the universe, that's a wrongdoing, forcing someone to pay taxes. And you know what they're going to say? They're not going to say, well, you know what? Yes, the universal laws of nature do deem this a wrong action, so we're not going to tax you anymore. No, they're going to say, you're either going to comply or die. Ultimately, that's what government is. It's violence. They resort to violence. You either comply or they have to resort to violence, where natural law just is. There's no need to resort to violence. And people say, well, if someone attacks you and you defend yourself, well, that's violence. No, it's not. That's not violence. The person attacking you is engaging in violence. The person using physical force to defend themselves is doing just that, using physical force. That's not violence. The person who's initiating the aggression is engaging in the violence because they're violating your natural rights. That's violence. Violence is the violation of natural rights. There is no other law than natural law, which Spooner was alluding to. So, and let me tell you something. You don't think forcing people with the threat of violence, with the threat of kidnapping and imprisonment, which is all violence, and the threat of not being able to go out and eat and get food and acquire resources if you don't take a vaccine. You don't think that's slavery? You don't think that's violence? You don't think that's chaos? As more and more individuals in a society become conscious of natural law and align their lives to it, that society becomes freer, I think that's correct English, less violent and less chaotic. Folks, this is a mathematical equation. It's a mathematical equation. Mathematics, folks, humans did not invent mathematics. Mathematics is observable and discoverable. We're going to get to that in the next segment. Okay? As more and more people in a society refuse to adhere to natural laws, which is what we have, and follow and enforce the laws of human rulers, mask laws, mandatory vaccination laws, to name some, that society becomes more enslaved, violent, and chaotic. You don't think we're becoming more enslaved? Let me ask you a question. Do you think we were less enslaved 6 months ago than we are now? Wake up, my God! I'm not stupid, folks. I know no one's going to, if anyone even clicks on this presentation, they're not going to watch the whole thing. I know that. I know that. I don't care. I mean, come on. As more and more people in a society refuse to adhere to natural laws and follow and enforce the laws of human rulers, that society becomes more enslaved, violent, and chaotic. Take a look at our society and just compare it to 6 months ago. And anarchy, that's chaos. Now, anarchy is an absence of a centralized ruling authority. Anarchy is the absence of the superstition that certain people have the right to rule over others. That's what anarchy is. No rulers, anarchon. Whereas like monarch is a single ruler. Oligarch, many rulers. Anarch is no ruler. Not to say that there couldn't, especially because let's just say right now, if government just said, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore, we're done, no more belief in government, good luck, people, you're on your own, have fun. Would there be violence and chaos? I mean, first thing, what is chaos? Chaos is just everybody doing their own thing, which is pretty much what we all do anyway. But could there be all kinds of violence? Yes, but it won't be centralized, and it won't be violence that a large majority of people think, oh, this is legitimate violence. Okay? And true chaos is when people violate natural laws, do not face consequences in the 3D realm, and are even, that means in our 3D world as we see things, and are even rewarded for their evil deeds. And there you go. Just look at the military, folks. I'm from the U.S. military. Look at what they're, all militaries are death cults, but look at what the U.S. military is doing. And look at how we honor our soldiers. These soldiers are going over to foreign lands and murdering people. When you break it down to its core essence. I mean, yeah, you can go inside the box and look at, these soldiers actually defended themselves because they were, someone initiated aggression against them. But what people don't realize is we're on their land. We're on their land. And actually, even if when you go on someone else's land, territory, and they fire on you, the actual act seems like it's an initiation of aggression, but it's not, because the people who go on the land and violate the property territory rights of the individuals are the actual aggressors. And instead of saying, hey, we need to stop doing this, you need to stop going to these foreign lands and invading these people's homes and territories. We honor them. Thank a soldier for your freedom. Folks, don't blame me, look it up. Hidden Wars of Desert Storm. Look at that and look into the fact that U.S. Special Forces set those oil wells on fire with that first Gulf War there. Those fires were set by U.S. Special Forces, folks. And also look into, there's a name for it, I forget what it is, but the retreating Iraqi army, which is pretty much disarmed and not a threat at all, not in any way aggressing towards anyone, and mainly the Americans tested their weapons on them, absolutely bombed them. They were defenseless, slaughtered them. And we honor these people? That's chaos, folks. That's chaos. That's chaos. That's Satanism. That's hell. Not that salvationist whole baloney, believe in Christ as your Savior and you won't go to hell. No, we're in hell, buddy. Hell's here. In case you haven't noticed. That's what really hell is. When you're living in a satanic world and people don't even notice it. That's chaos. That's chaos. When you have all kinds of violence and going on around you, violence that's sanctioned as acceptable. You have people who, every facet of all of our lives, the stuff we engage in, harm others and harm our ecosystem. And I'm going to get into this. I don't want to go too much. Harm other species, other animals, and no one even notices it. That's chaos, folks. That's chaos. You have airplanes in the sky going back and forth, filling the sky with shit, turning the sky white. And no one even says anything. No one even notices. That's chaos. That's chaos. The most egregious examples are Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, Mao's China. It's possible that just between these three nations, the genocide numbers could be close to or over 200 million. And let me tell you something, folks. I want to talk a little bit. I'll just mention Nazi Germany. For most of the German citizens who, as long as they sent their kids to the Hitler Youth and paid their robbery taxation fees, life was pretty good. You know, I think it was like 100% employment. Life was good. They were living lives of leisure. They knew what was going on. They knew that these concentration camps were going on, and they just said, "I'm good." I mean, folks, look at the Occult History. It's a 4-part series. I think it's on like Netflix and stuff. Might be on YouTube. 4-part series called The Occult History of the Third Reich. And in the beginning, it'll show the early part of the Nazi occupation, 1938. Germans out at the beach, frolicking around in their bathing suits and having a good old time. Same with the Soviet Union, you could see that. But I mean, you would think you would look into it and you would see that you would think it was California. Look up the video. It's a song, old song, Russian song from 1956. Moscow Nights, Podmoskovnye Vechera, Moscow Nights, and then it shows the Russians just chilling, going about their daily lives, catching some sun rays on the beach. Hey, you know, slavery's good, man. Same with the Germans. You know, look at the Occult History of the Third Reich movie, the first episode, where it shows them all just frolicking around on the beach. You would think it was California, dude. Just chilling, living the good life, man. Hey, slavery's great, right? Same, and you can see just the same here. Just the same here in America. I don't know much about China, but right here in America, folks, you know, people are running around with masks on, and what are most Americans worried about? Is there going to be a football? Is there going to be a football season? Oh no, can't live without that. Yeah, we're done. So, discoverable. So we're moving on. We're on the next slide now. Discoverable. Natural law does not need to be written down and enforced by a ruling class. The universal truths of morality render a ruling class obsolete. Natural law is not a theory, it is a fact. It is not a belief system or religion. The idea is to learn what objective morality is, learn that it is objective. Morality is objective, folks. Okay, morality is objective. I'm going to get into that. And work to align your behaviors and lifestyle with it. By doing this, you will discover that these laws absolutely exist through self-introspection. That's looking into yourself and seeing how, as you align yourself more with natural law, you become free within yourself. You become free within yourself. And observation of others. To go out into society, folks, like I talked about to you, what I saw in the store. Tell me what you see. Do you see people that are free? Running around like maniacs? You know, go out in your area during like the lunchtime here in America, which is like anywhere from, I'd say, around noon to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You know, look at how people are running around like maniacs. I only got 30 minutes on my lunch break. Better run around like a nut. You don't think we're enslaved? You don't think we're enslaved? You know, Richard Weatherall in his book, Right as Might, points out how the whole system we're living under is slavery. The whole work week system, the whole working for money and all that stuff, it's all slavery. So just observe others and see how enslaved they are. Natural law works over long periods of time and is not an immediate karma-based system, okay? Natural law is, once again, it's discoverable. It's mathematics. 2 plus 2 equals 4, no matter where you go in the universe. And unfortunately, the whole belief in government is basically, you know what? We're going to say as government that 2 plus 2 equals 5, and you're going to base your whole mathematical system on 2 plus 2 equals 5. And if you don't, we're going to engage in violence against you. Well, no, 2 plus 2 is 4, and that's backed by the universe. No, 2 plus 2 is 5, and we're going to back it with violence. And it's a shame, man. I was raised to think, don't want violence engaged against me. You got to do what they say, because that's the right thing to do. I was raised to be a coward, folks. I was raised to be a coward. So it's not an immediate karma-based belief system, okay? Natural law happens over time and in numbers. As more and more individuals will go what's happening now, choose not to behave morally. If you have just one person doing that out of say a society of 1,000, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But when you have 700 people out of 1,000 engaging in that immorality, that society is going to become more enslaved. That karma will be brought to that society mathematically and in numbers and over time. It is both simple and complex. When one begins to become a more enlightened being by understanding and living natural law, that person will realize that there's a great deal of responsibility involved with this knowledge. That's another, people just don't want that responsibility. They don't want that responsibility. They don't want to be grown up. Look up John Taylor Gatto, how he talks about the public schools. The public schools, I don't want to say raise, because that's not raising, but this is what public schools teach, indoctrinate us into, a permanent state of childhood. That's what they keep all of us in a permanent state of childhood. And look it up. He says that's the design. That's the design. A person will come to realize that there's more to life than the false belief systems and the perceptions that the ruling classes push on us. And perceptions is a big one. It's all perception. It's all perception. The whole facade of government and politics and militaries, it's all perceptions. It's all in our minds. Read The Perception Deception by David Icke. All in our minds. And while people say, well, it's all in our minds, so it's not really real. But the problem is, it goes from our minds and goes to our behavior. And that's how it comes into the, it doesn't come into the aggregate and the karma into the aggregate because we just think it. It comes into the aggregate because as we think, so we do. And when you have in a country, I'll just say 300 million people engaging in very heavy duty immorality. I mean, I'm probably like 320 million out of 330. I mean, it's hard to say 330 million total. But these perceptions, it's all a facade. And the controllers of our world know this. These controllers of our world who have hidden occulted knowledge, mainly that they acquired through the pyramids in Egypt and stuff like that, these rulers of the world who are a high priesthood in the Vatican and Mecca and Jerusalem, big one, Jerusalem, Israel. Look at the influence that Israel has on all these people in what's called our government, U.S. government. It's a priest class, and it's a hierarchical structure. And it starts with the people who know the most and goes all the way down to the bottom, the people who know nothing. That's us. We're being controlled by people we'll never see. Never see. And a lot of these people, these enforcers, don't even realize what they're involved in. Don't even know what they're doing. They're acting on their automatons, these order followers. We'll get to them. We'll get to them. So I'll move on here. So these are rules for beings with higher intelligence capabilities. Okay? Natural universal laws are inherent in nature. Talked about that. These laws, such as gravity or thermodynamics, okay, there are laws such as gravity and thermodynamics. They cannot be altered by humans, cannot be changed. However, in some ways it can be circumvented artificially. I'm going to do, I talked a little bit about this in my climate engineering presentation, about artificial ice nucleation, okay? And what that is the Chinese, look up Chinese military create snowstorms. It's covered by Fox News back in 2008. Airplanes inject aerosols and other kinds of chemicals, I think like silver iodide, stuff like that, either into clouds or into the upper atmosphere to create, with the use of moisture, well, it's over moisture, create endothermic reactions artificially at higher temperatures than freezing. Freezing is, no matter where you go in the universe, freezing is 32 degrees. I can say this with certainty, wherever you go on a planet, freezing is 32 degrees. Okay. But how many times have we seen it snowing at 42 degrees? Okay, so where am I going with this? I'm going to talk about this in another video, but some of these natural laws can be circumvented artificially, like human laws of behavior. Those are circumventing natural laws. Those are inverting natural laws. But once again, you can circumvent natural law, you can invert natural law, but natural laws, natural universal principles and laws stay the same, and the consequences of these creating these endothermic reactions with artificial chemicals at higher temperatures has massive consequences. Not to mention, the poisoning of the entire biological system with putting these chemicals, these industrialized processed chemicals up into the upper atmosphere, which all come down, we all breathe in, they all get into our soils, our water, everything. But also, when these endothermic reactions are created, the cold air descends down onto into the lower atmosphere, and it creates frozen precipitation. But it's an incredible amount of heat that's generated from that endothermic reaction, and that adds to the thermal heat buildup on this planet, the buildup of thermal energy. So once again, natural laws, they're in effect, and whether we abide by them or not, the consequences for going against them are automatic. And unfortunately, a lot of people, even in the freedom movement and even climate engineering movement, don't want to look into artificial ice nucleation because it makes them feel good when these snowstorms break out. And of course, they also use ionospheric heaters to steer upper level winds and bring cold air down from the Arctic. But it makes them feel good because, we can stick it to Al Gore now. And folks, I'm definitely not for Al Gore at all, but these storms are being artificially created, and it's a violation of natural law. Once again, folks, that's what this all comes down to. That's what this all comes down to. If we're participating in using technologies that are not in sync with the maintenance of our life support systems, that's a violation of natural law. That's what this comes down to. Not, how many years do we have left to keep doing what we're doing to our life support systems and other animals and other species of plants and stuff on the planet. It's not about, how much time do we have left? We'll worry about this in 2100. Folks, we're not going to be here in 2100, all right? No, it's about natural law, folks, aligning ourselves with natural law. And once again, people don't want to look into that because it forces them to look at themselves, and it also People don't want to give up their paradigms. People don't want to give up their paradigms. So, true natural laws cannot be changed. The same with universal laws of behavior. However, these laws only apply to beings of higher intelligence capabilities and not animals. Animals do not have the ability to reason intellectually or spiritually. On this planet, only humans have this innate ability. They don't use it. For humans to live in freedom in a society, we've all been dumbed down like animals. The television, politics, all that crap. Once again, going back to those high priests at the top of the chain in Mecca, Jerusalem, and the Vatican, which go down on the rung to the royals there in England, go down on the rung, or to the bankers, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and then go down more on the rung to like Bill Gates and the people he frequents with at these meetings in Davos, and go down a little more to the politicians, go down a little more to the military, the police, go all the way down. That's how this works, folks. And if you're not looking into that, you have no idea what you're dealing with. You have no idea what you're dealing with. That's why, with my family members, I have all these family members up in Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, and they're good people. Let me just say this about my family members. I think I'll talk about these specific family members specifically up in New Hampshire. I think if they really knew what was going on, they would be doing the same thing I'm doing, maybe even more right now. They would not be with this. But unfortunately, they're still stuck in their whole paradigms of their lives under this perception, this 3D perception that we're living in. And the whole, live free or die. But then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Got so many things going on. Got so many things going on in my head right now. I lost my train of thought there. But, my own family members, the point I was trying to make is my own family members think, oh, we got guns and, we're not gonna comply with what's coming down the pike, mandatory vaccinations. And I'm gonna tell you right now, folks, you're gonna comply. And this is where I was going with this, because you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what you're facing. You don't even know who your true enemy is. And you're gonna comply. When they tell you you can't go to work and feed your little ones, because they got young kids, you're going to comply. You're going to roll up your sleeve and you're going to take your shot. And that goes not just for my New Hampshire family members. I just use them because, the whole spirit of New Hampshire, live free or die, which really, folks, I have a better saying. It's live free and die. Live free and die. Not live free or die. Live free and die. Because that's what freedom is about. Sometimes to live in freedom, you have to fight a bloody, violent battle, yes, it'll be violence because someone will be trying to take your rights from you. You'll be using force. And sometimes it means dying. Sometimes it means suffering immensely to be free. And you New Hampshire people are not going to do it. And I'm not just talking about my family members. I'm talking all people in New Hampshire. You're not going to do it. They're going to tell you you can't work. They're going to tell you you can't possess the ability to feed your kids, and you're going to roll up your sleeves and you're going to take your shot. You're going to roll up your sleeves and take your shot. You know what? Family members, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'd love to see you prove me wrong. That'd be great. Prove me wrong. I'd be very happy. I'd be very happy. And that goes for most of all my family members. And in New Hampshire, and I got some family members out in PA, they're going to roll up their sleeves too. They got their guns, but they're going to roll up their sleeves too. they got a little one, they're going to roll up their sleeves. They're going to roll up their sleeves and they're going to take their shot. They're going to take their shots. Once again, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Pennsylvania family members. Prove me wrong, please. I would love to see you. I would be very happy to see you prove me wrong. I would be happy. I wouldn't be upset. I'd be happy to be proven wrong. And now those family members, they'll be reluctant, but they will roll up their sleeves when push comes to shove. And prove me wrong, please. And the rest of my family members, they'll be running out to get that shot. They'll be running out to get that shot. And kind of got off the beaten path of only humans have the innate ability to understand and align themselves with natural laws. See, animals, but they got us behaving like animals because we're idiots. And we watch the television. Turn off the television. Turn off the television. Natural law is about higher level capability, understanding spirituality, understanding things like mathematics. I mean, natural law is mathematics. As a society becomes more free, numbers wise, as a society, well, you could say it either way, but as a society becomes more moral in numbers, that society becomes more free. As a society becomes more immoral in numbers, that society becomes less free. More immoral, less free. It's a direct sum of. It's a direct sum of. The sum of people that are immoral means that sum of people will be enslaved. The sum of people that are more, as the sum of people, the greater amount of people, the sum of amount of immorality will equal the sum of enslavement. The sum of morality will equal the sum of freedom. Direct mathematics. Animals don't have the ability to understand that. Animals don't have the ability to understand mathematics. We humans do. That's what these laws are for. These laws exist in the universe so that our species, intelligent species, can survive. And what are we doing with our intellect? We're destroying freedom and our life support systems and destroying all other terrestrial species on this planet. Because, folks, that's what's going to happen, folks. I mean, we're not going to be here long. And I am not a fan of Al Gore, George Soros, or Greta Thunberg. Although I will say I do agree with Greta Thunberg on her statement, her generation has no future. I will agree with that. But, she's bought and paid for. And Al Gore, yeah, he did get it wrong. I in my studies, I think he didn't go into it enough in his movie there. But it's not even about all the dialectics that they present. The whole, they call it fossil fuels, which are not fossil fuels, but the whole hydrocarbon fuel debate. Which the burning of hydrocarbon fuels goes against natural law. It goes against natural law. It pollutes the environment. I mean, you don't think burning of hydrocarbon fuels pollutes the environment? Go into a city and just look at how dirty it is. All the hydrocarbon fuels being burned in those cities. Look how dirty it is. But the point is, it's all our life support systems that we're destroying because we're not following natural law. And that starts with the ionosphere, our ozone layer. I'll give you a little tidbit. This hurricane that came up the East Coast, I'm from New Jersey, Isaias or whatever the hell the stupid storm name was. A geoengineered controlled storm, folks. Look up Project Cirrus, Project Storm Fury from the 40s and 50s. They've had the ability to control these hurricanes for a long time, along with, NEXRAD facilities and ionospheric heating and stuff like that. They've had the ability to seed and control these storms and all that kind of stuff. But they, meaning the U.S. military and other militaries as well, when the storm broke and the clouds cleared, and it actually, when I looked up, I didn't see any real visible heavy amounts of the aerosols, the stuff that the garbage that these airplanes inject into our upper atmosphere. I didn't see any of them. And man, let me tell you something. That sun was so hot on my skin. So hot on my skin. I was like, wow, this is bad. And then all of a sudden, a little bit later, a bunch of aerosols moved in. And the sun intensity decreased a bit. Anyone who doesn't think that's a problem, boy, you got your head up your ass, man. And that's what I'm talking about, man. The complete destruction of all our life support systems, our bodies of water, our soils, our air. And all people want to do is talk about just supposedly what they say fossil fuels. It's all dialectic, folks. It's all dialectic. The answer is natural law. The answer is natural law. We need to start engaging in activities that are in line with the laws of nature. And we need to start using technologies that work with the life support systems of our planet, not against them, not this whole idea of conquering nature. We have to be in line with nature. And that's what natural law is, folks. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that with natural law. People don't want to talk about the life support system aspect and how it's a holistic principle, a bulk of principles. And it's just about freedom. It's more than just freedom. Freedom is everything. Our life support systems are everything. It's all in one. It's holistic. So, for humans to live in freedom in a society, most people in that society, at minimum, must be working to understand and align their lives with natural law. The rulers behind the scenes, the one that you don't see on your television, no one understands these laws and work to circumvent them. Talked about that. They do this by getting us to do the dirty work, order followers. Now we're getting into order followers. They do this by getting us to do the dirty work, order followers. Order followers. The police and military, folks. The police and military. Okay? And I just want to take a look at something. Yeah, we'll get into it. I'll get more into the police and military on the next slides. As a result, we pay the heaviest karmic toll. The rulers with the hidden knowledge of these laws do not suffer the consequences in the 3D realm because we do their dirty work for them. Like, how many times have you heard in the past, George Bush and Dick Cheney should be in jail? Well, certainly they were facilitators of what happened in Iraq, the whole WMD, along with the real prostitutes. See, people call a woman who has sex with a man or does whatever else with that whole entail, whatever they do, for money, they call that a prostitute. No, the real prostitutes are the mainstream media who go right out and just read their scripts. Don't even question, don't even do any journalistic investigation, and many of them willingly no end lie. WMD in Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction, folks. Total lie. But it wasn't Bush and Cheney that invaded Iraq and killed all those people. It was the order followers, it was the military, and they paid the heaviest karmic toll. Just look at 22 veterans a day committing suicide. Not that anybody cares. Not that anybody who even tries to pretend that they care offer the true solution, which is the end of these wars, because they're punks. And look at the fact that one study I looked at showed that the average age of a police officer in America is 52 years old. Average age of death is 52 years old. I looked in a pro-police magazine. 80% of police experience suicidal thoughts at some point in time. Those are the karmic consequences for the people that carry out these evil deeds. And yes, folks, kidnapping and throwing someone in jail for having a substance on them or ingesting a substance is an evil deed. It is an evil deed. Absolutely. And they pay the heaviest karmic toll. The rulers with the hidden knowledge of these laws don't suffer the consequences. And the truth is, folks, George Bush and Dick Cheney, their actions did not cause what happened in Iraq. They facilitated it, but their actions didn't cause it. Order followers. Once again, folks, it's about the behavior you bring into the world. And the order followers bring the military and the police, bring the behaviors into the world. And that's what causes the natural law consequences in the aggregate as more become moral, more become free, and vice versa. And also, they pay the heaviest karmic tolls because they're the ones that commit the acts. So, last part of the definition, required to live by in order to ensure freedom and the maintenance of our life support systems. As explained in the last slide, for humans to live in freedom, they must adhere to natural laws of human behavior. Freedom is a natural right. Access to natural life-sustaining resources such as breathable, clean air, drinkable, non-toxic water, and potable soil are natural rights. Please don't get confused with the baloney Marxist rights, okay? The rights I'm talking about are rights that are provided in nature naturally, okay? I'm not talking about the right to work, the right to a living wage, the right to housing, the right to health care. Those are all false rights, folks. Gay rights, civil rights, all false rights. The only true real rights are natural rights. Okay? Like Spooner said, there's no other all civil law must be measured against natural law. Okay? These are natural rights. The universe and this planet are providing these resources for free. All we must do is understand how this works and live our lives accordingly. Many people, I talked about this, many people think that freedom and the environment are mutually exclusive. This is false. You cannot have one without the other. No freedom, no access to life-sustaining resources, no life-sustaining resources, and there will be no terrestrial life on this planet. And they're all intertwined. And you got all these freedom people that are just, they don't want to acknowledge the natural law consequences of our life support systems. And folks, we got to get this together. And I understand you like your paradigms and stuff like that. I'm connected to a lot of this stuff too, folks. I'm not the man on the mountain with the halo over my head. So I'm going to move to the next slide. And I'm also just going to pause for a second because I got to go and water my garden. I took a horrendous beating during that climate engineered hurricane. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I just had to water my garden. Just had to water my garden. Looks good. What bees are left on this planet are doing pretty well with my corn pollinating. I mean, of course, doesn't mean that things are going well. Bee populations are down something crazy. I think like 60% worldwide. Once again, violation of natural law, using pesticides to grow stuff. Violation of natural law. Just industrial agriculture, vegetable agriculture, just that practice is a violation of natural law. You're not, things don't grow industrially. So a lot of violations of natural law there. Using these pesticides and all this GMO stuff, killing off our natural pollinators, our bees. That's a violation of natural law. Once again, you can go against natural law and use pesticides and all that, but the consequences, the natural law consequences. The bees go, we go, folks. So let's continue with the next slide. The fundamental rule of natural law. You have to know that rights are objective. Okay, rights are objective. What is a right? A right is a behavior that does not cause harm to another sentient being. And folks, that means the chicken on your dinner plate or whatever it's on your, whatever animal flesh is on your dinner plate. And I want to say that after a year and a half of reducing my land-based animals meat eating, I am now officially not eating, as the last couple weeks, not eating any land-based animals. I'm an American, what land-based animals we typically eat? Be any land-based animal, but we typically eat cows, pigs, turkeys, chickens, lamb, deer, stuff like that. I do not eat any land-based animals anymore. It's a big step for me. Big step for me. Once again, that took me a year and a half, folks, to get to that. And I'm still eating some sentient beings because, I'm eating small fish and shellfish, but they are sentient beings. Fish are sentient beings. So I'm on the journey, folks. That's what natural law is, folks. Natural law is a journey. It's a journey. Only the Creator's perfect, folks. Only the Creator's perfect. What's important is that we're actively and incrementally moving along that path towards the perfection of the Creator. Okay? And I want to mention that if I was in a situation where I had nothing to eat and there was an animal out in my yard, I mean nothing to eat. I'm not talking, I'm talking about like I'm in a survival situation. Okay? I would kill that animal. I would, and I would eat it. But I want to make it clear. Even in that situation where there's nothing to eat, survival situation, I have to feed my family, my little ones. My little ones aren't so little anymore. And I kill that animal and we eat. Good thing. I'm a good job. Good job, Dad. You fed your family. Guess what, folks? It's still a violation of natural law. It's still a violation of natural law. Remember, folks, immutable. Immutable. The universe doesn't care that I did a good thing by feeding my little ones, by killing that animal. Natural law is a principle, it's objective, immutable, universal, inherent, doesn't stop. It's just like, all right, we're in a survival situation, so natural law is suspended. Don't worry, natural law is suspended because we're in a survival situation, so you will not be violating natural law when you kill that sentient being for food. Wrong, folks. Even if I'm doing a good thing by feeding my family, we got nothing to eat, we're in a survival situation, I kill that animal, we cook it and we eat it, that is still a violation of natural law. What is the point here, folks? The point is, you almost cannot even live in, especially here in America, this society, and the world for that matter, without violating some form of natural law. And we're going to get to there's the indirect harm. I'm going to get to that as well. It's almost impossible to not violate natural law in some way. So remember, folks, this is a journey. And remember, folks, it took me a year and a half to cut down my land-based animal eating to the point where I don't need it anymore. And it just happened for me, folks. How do I get around it? I make a lot of vegetable meals. I still do eat some fish, sardines, anchovies, shellfish, stuff like that. Not much, though. That's the next step. That's the next step. I'm going to work to get fish out of my diet. And then the next step will be trying to get all animal products out of my diet, because even like cheeses, which don't result in cows being killed, but the making of dairy products results in a cow having a baby, and then that baby's ripped from the cow, and the cow and the baby both suffer. I mean, watch some videos on that. You'll see the mother and the baby both crying for each other. So it's, got a long way to go, folks. I got a long way to go, but I'm making a big step, and I'm proud of myself. No more land-based animals. Don't eat them. And I'm plenty fine. And I make a lot of nice vegetable meals and stuff. And folks, I'm telling you, you know how to cook. I'm a good cook. It's a shame that I was so psychologically damaged as a child by my parents, but I probably I would have been like a world-renowned chef. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I can cook, man. I know how to cook, man. And all it really is just, it's not any special. I mean, it's just being creative and studying stuff. That's all. I mean, anybody could be a really good cook, So I make meals that I enjoy, man. And you know what I noticed, folks? When I first started trying to reduce my land-based animal intake, and all animals, all fish as well, I noticed that most of the things that I really like don't even have very little, if any, animal products at all in them. I started realizing that. I like, salsa and chips and guacamole dip and chips and, stuff like that. Salads. I like salads. I was just like, I really like most things that really don't even have, animal-based and meat-based products in them. So just want to let you know, folks, it's a process. It took me a year and a half just to get to this point where I'm not eating any land-based animals anymore. It's tough. And I wouldn't suggest anybody try to do it right off the bat, because your body's really used to that stuff. It's the same thing. I was one of these so-called persons with the disease of addiction, and I started learning about all that stuff and wised up and grew up, and I've been dramatically cutting down my alcohol intake over the years, almost to the point where I'm going to look to be done with any kind of alcohol ingestion. It's a journey, folks. It's a journey, and least amount of harm possible. Harm reduction is what it's actually in the whole. I'm trying to think of the word. I'll just say, with people who work with drug users and alcohol and people who use alcohol heavily, I forget who actually coined it, but it's called harm reduction, and it's a way of counseling to where they get people to wean themselves off of these drugs in a step progression process, not the whole abstinence based just cut it out of your behaviors directly. So harm reduction is what I would call it, is what I would refer to as harm reduction. Once again, I forget who actually, I think somebody actually coined it. It's an actual method of treating people with addictions to drugs and alcohol, stuff like that. But so I just want to make it clear that if I was in a survival situation, I had to eat an animal, I would do that. But that's still a violation of natural law. The universe, hey, universe, I fed my kids. My kids were starving. The universe doesn't care. Universe, sorry, Bill. Immutable, inherent, cannot be changed, buddy. Objective. It's still a violation of natural law. Now, what's the difference? It's one thing if we're living in a society where, say, we got 1,000 people, and maybe every now and then 10 or so people kill an animal to eat some food. You're not gonna be moving heavily into immorality there. But when you got all 1,000 people killing sentient beings to eat 3 meals a day, the whole society, all 1,000, you're going to have, or 900 out of 1,000, you're going to have, your society is going to become more immoral. Leo Tolstoy, I think, has a quote where there are slaughterhouses, there will be battlefields. So, I think I covered all of that. I think I had one more thing to say about that. It's the same. It doesn't matter. It's still a violation of natural law. Doesn't matter what the reason is. Doesn't matter what the reason is. In fact, I'll just go to this for a second. That's where the whole Hiroshima, Nagasaki, there's so much involved with that, but I'm just going to touch on just a little part of it. The whole Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing completely falls apart because when you initiate an act of aggression against another sentient being, all those people in those cities are sentient beings, and they had a bomb dropped on them, that's a violation of natural law. And they tried the government propaganda excuses. We had to do it to save our own troops from an invasion, which there's so much going on with that. I don't want to get deep into this. That's cowardly right there. You're going to invade someone's country, at least have the courage to fight them face to face. But anyway, it doesn't change. The dropping of those bombs was a violation of natural law. Doesn't matter what your reason is. Doesn't matter what your reason is. It's objective. And it's important to note that this includes behavior that causes indirect harm to other humans and animals, which is, once again, like I said, you cannot almost do anything here in America and the world, in our society, without violating some form of natural law, folks. So this is, once again, it's a journey, folks. It's a journey, and we got to start the journey. We got to start the journey. And it's going to be a rocky road. And this is important to understand right now, that A right is a behavior that does not cause harm to another sentient being. It's important to understand that now, because here in America especially, we're under attack with all this stuff that's going on right now. We've always been under attack, but you could go all the way back to the 1913, 1914 with the central bank and a progressive income tax. But there's a propaganda campaign here in America and the world to invert this and alter this fundamental truth. Like I was talking about with Alan Dershowitz, trying to equate taking your fist and punching somebody with going out and being sick and you have some virus and it happens to go through the air and infect somebody else. There's no comparison. There's no comparison. Once again, if you're worried about a virus, you need to protect yourself. You need to do what you need to do to protect yourself. And if there's a situation where there really is a bad virus situation, it's nice if a society would come together and try to protect the most vulnerable. But truth is, let me tell you something, folks. Nothing comes before freedom in our life support systems, not health, safety, not even life. Okay? So, they're trying to invert it, folks. They're trying to invert natural law. They're trying to tell you that your rights can be suspended in times of emergency, and it's baloney. Because the state doesn't even have the right to exist, let alone have the right to take rights. I don't care what, once again, natural law is objective. It doesn't matter. Natural law doesn't care if there's a virus going around. Natural law, the universe doesn't care if there's a virus going around and people are dropping dead of a virus. It's up to us, our responsibility, to protect our property, which is our bodies. That's our responsibilities, not the responsibility of some imaginary state. Rights are not revocable. They are objective. And human beings can revoke those rights with violence, but they'll never revoke those rights truly through natural law. And the natural law consequences will be still in effect for that, which is a society plunging into total slavery, which, once again, folks, if you haven't been paying attention, you haven't noticed. I think it's time to notice. But then again, football's coming back, so nobody will care. It's unbelievable. Bunch of football players running around with masks on, announcers with their masks on. Unbelievable. Makes me want to throw up. Really does. So I'm moving on to the next slide. What are the responsibilities that coincide with natural law? Nature provides freedom and life-sustaining resources for free. However, the continued opportunity to access these treasures depends on human behaviors. Freedom does not necessarily mean living an easy life. It can, but that's not what it means. It is our responsibility to do what is required to maintain our freedom and continue to assure that our life support systems are respected and not eliminated to the best of our ability. When our free will rights are threatened, it is our right and duty in nature and to the Creator to defend our rights with physical force if reasoning does not work. And yes, folks, that means defending yourself against your own imagined, perceived entity called government. And yes, that means using physical force, if need be, against your own military, supposedly as it's called, against police. That is what that means. Folks, if a policeman comes around and tells me I have to stick some needle in my arm, I'm going to fight. And let me continue. Yes, this is a right and a duty. In addition, I'm referring to deadly force if necessary. Yes, using deadly force against a law enforcer, whatever. There are so many law enforcement agencies in this country, in the United States. I mean, they could come from anywhere. But yes, even your friendly neighborhood policeman. Let me tell you something. Your friendly neighborhood policeman wants to try to make me feel bad. Oh, I have no choice. I have to enforce these vaccine laws. You know, I got little kids to feed. I don't give a crap about your little kids you have to feed, buddy. Don't give a crap. Don't feel sorry for you at all. What you need to do is first, a start would be not enforce these laws, and second would be the most ideal would be quit your job. And yes, I know, here in Ocean County, if all the police quit today, they'd be replaced by tomorrow. But you know what? Once again, natural law is objective. Natural law doesn't care. Natural law is not going to say, oh, it's okay, police officer, you might as well just engage in these immoral activities and force vaccines on people physically and put them in cages and engage in all kinds of forms of violence against them, fines and stuff if they don't want to put these vaccines in them. Because if you quit, well, you know, you'd be replaced anyway, so you might as well go ahead, police officer. Natural law, the laws of the universe are going to excuse you for your actions because, hey, you know, if you don't do it, somebody else will. No, doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. You, police officer, enforcing immoral laws are violating natural law and no excuses. Once again, oh, well, there's a pandemic. We have to do this. No excuse. Natural law doesn't care. You will descend in slavery. If we allow this, we're already enslaved, but if we allow this complete enslavement, which is once again, like I touched about in a little video I did on my phone, I Want to Be Free many years ago. Once you surrender ownership of your body, you're done, you're a total slave. And the beginning aspects of surrendering our bodily ownership was allowing drug laws to be enforced. And that's telling people what they can't put into their bodies and have on their person. And then now we're being told just the reverse. The next step is telling people what they have to put into their bodies and have on their person: masks. Once again, bodily ownership, telling people what they can't have on their person. You can't have these drugs on your person and stuff like that. And then the next step is telling people what they have to have on their person: masks. And then telling people what they can't ingest into their bodies. You can't ingest those drugs into your body. And then the next thing is telling people what they have to ingest into their body: vaccines. That society descends into slavery. Natural law is in effect. Natural law is in effect, period, end of story. And no, I don't feel sorry for your family. I don't care if your kids starve. I don't care if your kids starve. I don't care about you just doing your job. You're engaging in immorality, and you need to at the very least first refuse to enforce, and then most ideal would be to quit your job. Same with all of you in the military. And for all of you, do not join. Do not join the military. Do not join the police. So yes, I'm referring to deadly force if necessary, and I'll tell you right now, my friendly neighborhood police officer, you're trying to force a vaccine on me, you're not my friendly neighborhood police officer anymore. You're not my friendly neighborhood police officer anymore. You're my enemy, buddy. You're my enemy. And folks, I am going to fight, and I am scared. I'm not going to lie, I'm scared. I'm scared because this is going to happen. This is going to happen. In some way, shape, or form, at some point in time, very, very soon. I'm not saying exactly, I can't say exactly how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I'm scared. But that's what following and living your life in accordance with natural law is having courage. And true courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing what's right in spite of your fears. And that's what people don't want, these responsibilities that coincide with natural law. They don't want these responsibilities. They're all going to lay down. Oh, the police said we have to do this, so we're going to do it. They're all going to lay down. Oh, Donald Trump took his vaccine. Whether or not that's true, that would be true if that happened, whatever. I mean, you can't believe anything you see on the television. But anyway, Donald Trump took his vaccine, so, I'll take mine too. And, whatever, however that works out, I don't know. But, yes, deadly force if necessary, folks. And against what is perceived to be our own military and police. Because, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, the police aren't really our own. The police are their own. The job of the policeman is to enforce laws no matter how immoral they are, period, end of story. You don't like it, quit your job, and that'd be great. It'd be great if they quit their jobs. And I know there's a lot, there's some good police officers that are resisting a lot of this stuff, that are doing good things. But once again, I don't care if a policeman does good things on their spare time or at their job. You're not a good person if you're part of an organization that enforces laws no matter how immoral they are. You have to quit that organization, and then you'll become a truly good person. But, I mean, just, Rockefeller facilitated nice things for people and stuff like that. The Rockefellers are absolute Satanists. Even these police that are refusing a lot of these orders, once again, I mean, that's a good thing, but to be a good person, you have to quit your job. So, I'm going to move on. Next slide. Hold on 1 second. My dog is acting up. Let me just go get him. I'm going to pause here. All right, folks, I'm back. We're on the next slide. It's actually my breakfast time, my shake time, and my time to eat some walnuts. I usually have some almonds too. I don't have any right now. I usually have some coconut milk yogurt as well. I'm out of that as well. So, you might hear me chomping a little bit or something. I apologize. Freedom does not mean fun and leisure. Okay, it can mean fun and leisure, folks, but that's not really what it means. Okay, it's not really what freedom really is. Okay, when we Americans were all kids in our indoctrination camps called public schools, we were taught that the colonists declared their independence and then became free when they finally defeated the British in the war. This is not accurate, folks. The colonists were always free, even under British rule. And once again, going back to what I touched on, President Lincoln freeing the slaves, I cannot stand that. Now, first thing, folks, slavery was just juggled around and renamed and stuff like that, okay? So, slavery never really ended. It just changed a bit. Read 13th Amendment, slavery by another name. Lincoln did not free the slaves, folks. The slaves are always free. Now I understand. I'll look this up as well. The origin of police were from the patrols that would catch runaway slaves. That's where police came from in this country. That's one of the origins of police. The slaves were always free. Okay, they were always free. But I understand that if the slaves decided to act on their free will, it would have been a genocide. It would have been a genocide. But you know what, folks? When are we going to make the choice here to where we're going to have to say, you know what? Freedom is more important than health, safety, and life. And freedom, once again, ties to our life support systems. So the slaves were always free. But if they tried to act on their free will, they would have been slaughtered. They would have been slaughtered. But you know what? That's the responsibility of natural law, folks. That's a responsibility of natural law. It's our responsibility to defend our rights. And once again, because more people chose to be immoral and violate natural laws, and once again, folks, I'm going to tell you this. Natural law is just not on the violation of natural law is not just on the police and the military and the enforcers and the facilitators and the politicians. It's on us as well. When we acquiesce and follow these laws, we're violating natural law as well. And that was on the slaves of the South, and they violated natural law, and their result was slavery. Okay, so let's go back to the colonists, which is what we're going to need to do again, folks. We're going to need this again, unfortunately. I mean, you know what? I just really think the way things are going, with all the stuff that's going on right now, I think a violent civil war, or whatever you want to call it, is inevitable. It's inevitable. Unless people start trying to understand this stuff. And even if there is a violent, say, we'll just call it a revolution, if people don't understand this stuff, it's just going to revolve. We'll go right back around again to what we had. Remember that little limited government, that little limited non-intrusive government? How's that working out now? It'll be right back to it. We'll keep repeating this process. And unfortunately, folks, I don't think we're going to have another repetition, because we're going to lose everything. Our life support systems are going to crash. This whole thing's going to crumble. This whole thing's going to crumble. We're not going to have another chance to get this. We got to start getting this very soon. So we are taught in school that the colonists finally became free when they defeated the British in the war, and this is not accurate. The colonists were always free, even under British rule. And we all have free will, folks. We all have free will, and if we can walk around and move around, we're free. It's just certain people don't want us to be free, and the responsibility with living in accordance with natural law means you have to defend it with deadly force against whoever. And, people can, say, for example, what's called an Islamic terrorist were to come and try to take your natural law rights and, kick down the door to your home and kill you, and you killed him, everyone will call you a hero. But when the American police kick in your door and you kill them, the whole bulk of society is going to want you to be punished harshly. It's that superstition of the belief in government. Monopolize, legitimize violence. And I hope I remember to touch on this. I just want to continue this. So the colonists just officially declared their independence and moved on with their lives. However, the little boy king did not like this. The colonists were free, but they had to fight a bloody, violent, and very difficult war to maintain their natural rights. They were free, but they were not having fun. And, look into what happened at Valley Forge, They weren't having much fun. They were free, but they weren't having much fun. And I had something that I wanted to talk about. So much to talk about. And I know I'm going to miss touching on this. I guess 2+ hours, not even going to cover it. I need like 24 hours to cover everything. I know I'll think about it. Hopefully I'll think about it here at the end, because I'm just about to end here. Of course, after I make it, I'll think about it. I know that. That's usually what happens. So I'm moving on to the next slide now. The laws of nature provide us with the gift of free will choice. The truth is we are all free. People do not like to hear this, but we must. Slavery is a choice. We choose to be slaves. We choose to euphemize this slavery by calling robbery taxation. We choose to believe that wars of aggression are wars for freedom. And I'm also going to add just a little bit in here. We choose to think that certain people have the right to engage in violence against others. We seem to believe that certain people have the right to engage in violence against us. And they don't. They don't. That's a superstition. And natural law is still in effect. And we all enter into slavery because of that. We choose to believe that wars of aggression are wars for freedom. I don't know if I said that already. We like the rewards of slavery, such as living lives of leisure and perceived comfort, regardless of the cost to other humans, animals, and our life support systems. And once again, folks, look at what I talked about: Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, and here in America. I mean, people are being put under duress, kidnapped, even killed for having substances on them and possessing certain substances, and now not having certain things on them, masks, and soon it's going to be not putting things into our bodies, vaccines. And you don't think we're descending into slavery? You don't think we're descending into slavery? But people just, once again, people living their lives of leisure, as long as they have that comfort and that semblance of leisure, they'll cling to it. They'll cling to it to the very end. Cling to it to the very end. It's going to be too late for at least a semi-peaceful transition. We choose to believe and honor liars, thieves, and facilitators and actors of murder. We make excuses for order followers that continue these systems of slavery. And that's a big one. It's Stockholm Syndrome. We make excuses for these order followers. And we make excuses for these political facilitators of all this. Make excuses for these people. Stockholm Syndrome, dude. It's like I made a video of Donald Trump is a part of this establishment. Deal with it. That was the title of the video. And in it, I talked about, Donald Trump, I guess, I forget, like being a politician and stuff like that. And a commenter F-bombed the living snot out of me and told me that Donald Trump's not a politician. He's a businessman. There it is. There it is. We make excuses. We make excuses for these people, these facilitators and their order followers. We make excuses. Oh no, Donald Trump's not a part of this. He's a businessman. He's not a part of it. He's a part of it. Making excuses. It's Stockholm Syndrome. That's what people tell themselves. That's what these people who are still clinging to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not going to save us. We have to save ourselves. These people that still cling to it, clinging, holding on, but for dear life. No, Donald Trump, he's a businessman. He's not a politician. Stockholm Syndrome, folks. When are we going to let it go? When are we going to let it go and realize it's about us? We are who we've been waiting for. I don't know who made that quote, but I've heard that a lot. So we make excuses for these order followers. Oh, they're just doing their job. Oh, they got mouths to feed. I don't give a crap about that. You're the facilitators of evil and you need to stop. At the very least, start not enforcing these horrendous laws and then stop and quit your jobs. Give a crap about your family and your kids that you have to feed. Don't give a crap. We do all this because we get rewards for these behaviors that violate natural law. We are to blame, just once again. Like all these people, I want anarchy. No masters, no slaves. Oh, I lost my job. Oh, hey, good. I'll go collect unemployment. Okay. No masters, no slaves. Down with government. Oh, let me collect my unemployment here. It's a joke. It's a joke. So, this looks like I'm wrapping it up here. I think I've covered most everything. Let me just talk about my sources and then I'll do a final. I'll actually show myself here, show my face. I'm going to go to the next slide, show my ugly mug. And these are some of my sources. The Unconstitutionality of Slavery by Lysander Spooner, with the quote there. That was his quote. And, talking about how human laws are not congruent with natural laws and how even within the confines of human laws, those confines are violated by certain human actions. Talks a lot about human laws and stuff like that and how they're flawed. The Most Dangerous Superstition by Locke and Rose talks about the superstition of the belief in government and all that's entailed with it. One of the most amazing books I've ever read. I mean, you want to cover this illusion of the belief in government and the rituals, and he covers it all. He covers the Stockholm Syndrome necessarily. I don't know if he actually mentions Stockholm Syndrome, but he covers that whole kind of ideological thinking. He covers the psychosis of these order followers. These order followers who actually dissociate themselves from their own actions. It's really intense. I mean, these order followers will actually, kind of like what I talked about a little bit earlier. My actions didn't cause this because I was told to do this. It's George Bush and Dick Cheney. They did all the violence in Iraq. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You order followers did the violence. You order followers did the violence. Right is Might by Richard Weatherall. That's a very good book. Talks about, the concepts of natural law and how being right is strength. Being right is, can be something that's doable. A lot of people just look at, it's not beneficial to me and my family to do the right thing. Wrong. It absolutely is. And Richard Weatherall covers that. He covers that in his book. Death by Government by R.J. Rummel. You want to look at, as a society becomes more immoral, it becomes more enslaved, violent, and chaotic, Rummel does the numbers. Rummel will run down the numbers for you of all the major violent regimes, which we're on the way. This is going to be a worldwide genocide. They want to develop this is insane endeavor. 7 billion, they want to develop multiple vaccines for 7 billion people. Talk about insanity and talk about genocide. Rummel gets into the numbers. But where this entire planet is going to be the next Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, Mao's China, and of course Pol Pot's regime, Cambodia, and there was others that Rummel talked about. And of course, you can actually look this up as well. Since I think it was World War II, the United States has contributed to the deaths of 20 million people, something like that. I forget exactly that statistic, but just look at the amount of death that's been caused in the Middle East by us in just the past 20 years, by us Americans in the past 20 years. Then there's the perception, deception by David Icke. I touched on that a little bit before. The perception, how we perceive things, how we perceive these illusions that are put into our brains and how so we think, so we act. And then also I've learned about natural law by watching 3-part, I think 6-hour, something like that, seminar by Mark Passio on natural law. And also by listening to Mark Passio's podcast on what on earth is happening, starting with number 001 and progressing in order. Folks, you got to do it that way because you're not going to really get it. I watched some of his videos, and then I listened to his last podcast when I first started being introduced to him. I listened to his last podcast in 2016, early 2016, I think it was. And I was getting things because I had already read Larkin's book and stuff like that, and Lysander's book, and Death by Government. But I really got it when I started from 001 and went all the way up. So that's how you have to do it that way, folks, because you're not really going to get it. I've learned about the damage to our life support system from websites such as geoengineeringwatch.org, Nature Bats Last, and listening to the Gary Null Show. All this comes together. And you know what, folks? I do not agree with everything these authors and website organizers said. Once again, folks, you got to really do some investigating and put the pieces of the puzzle together. Everybody wants just to be spoon-fed information by the mainstream media. You got to do the work for yourself if you really want to learn what's going on. And you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater many times. So I'm now going to go to picture. And here I am. Whoa, that was bright, huh? Yeah, here I am. This is going to complete my my presentation. I don't know what the difference between a presentation and a seminar really is. Maybe I should look it up, but I'm calling it a presentation. It's a PowerPoint presentation that I'm converting here to video, and I just bought my new computer, and I'm learning more about how to use these technologies and stuff like that, and I'm trying to get the word out to people here. And I think I pretty much covered everything I want to cover. As soon as I stop this video, I'll say, oh man, I didn't cover that, I didn't cover this. So I know, I'm sure I'm going to miss something. I know. But I can tell you, folks, my whole family's going to comply in one way or another with all this stuff. At least the way I see things standing right now. And the only people I really have, I've been trying to communicate with people on a good website, great website, Freedom Cell Network, trying to get people together on that. I've been able to meet with a person, but not much success. But it's a great website, Freedom Cell Network. But I'm trying to get more technologically advanced so I can reach more people. I'm getting ready to start my own website. I'm working on some projects. But really, the truth is, I got my wife and 3 kids, and looks like we're all on the same page. But as far as my family, and I'm going to do a video about this. As far as my family, they're all going to comply with these vaccine mandates and whatever else they're going to throw at us. And however, my wife's got some pockets in her family who I think are not going to comply. So we might have some allies there. But really right now, it looks like only the people in my house. I mean, refuse these vaccinations, our own neighbors will probably come out to hold us down. That's how crazy this is going to be, folks. That's how crazy this is going to be. This is real. This is real. And I'm going to complete my natural law presentation in 2.5 hours. Think anybody's going to watch it? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. And we'll see about that. All right.